Hey girl, so glad you tuned in. My name's Bethany Augustin and this is the Make Up Your Mind channel. This is episode number 2. Whether you're actually putting on your makeup, maybe you're in the Dutch Bros drive-thru getting ready for school, maybe you're getting ready for work, or whatever your week holds, I hope that you remember that today there are people that are for you, that are cheering you on to succeed in life. I hope that maybe I could be one of those people for you today, standing on the sideline of your life, reminding you and helping you to make up your mind about the small decisions all day long that'll eventually add up to huge things in your life later on. This is our second episode together, and this episode is called Real Friendship. How to make friends by being a friend. And it's, I think, going to be just part 1. I think there might be a part 2. So let's get to it. First of all, before we begin, I want to take a quick minute to talk to you about makeup because this is the Make Up Your Mind podcast. Come on, we do gotta, incorporate some of this from time to time. I have an Ipsy subscription. Some of you might know, some of you might not know what Ipsy is. It is a monthly makeup subscription that comes to my door. I took a quiz telling them kind of like some stuff that I like to see for makeup. Maybe you're just a mascara, messy bun kind of a girl. Maybe you're full face makeup. Maybe you do the eyelash extensions and everything. No matter where you are on the makeup spectrum, they have stuff for you. So they have skincare, nails, hair, everything. It's a lot of fun because it's like getting a present once a month. I think it's like $13 a month. It's something really inexpensive, which is basically like 2 cups of coffee. It's great. In my last bag that I got this mascara. And let me tell you, I am a mascara every day kind of girl. I would totally do those lash extensions. I actually got some for my wedding and I loved them, except for I just cannot afford those on a regular basis. And so I'm a mascara everyday kind of girl. And this mascara I got is called Roller Brush by Benefit Cosmetics. And let me tell you what, it's my favorite mascara that I think I've ever used. It's great stuff. It makes my lashes both thick and long, and it makes my eyes look so much more open. So if you're interested in that, it's a great mascara. If you're needing a new one or if you don't like yours, I would give it a try. I think you can even buy samples online. I will try and post a link. I'm still new to this whole like technology YouTube thing, so just have grace. I'll try and post a link for both Ipsy and Benefit Cosmetics for that mascara underneath this post, and feel free to have at it. It's a lot of fun and I love it. So there you go. There's your makeup tip for the day. Let's get to the real stuff though. I know for a fact that your Generation Z, probably going to refer to you that every once in a while. That's who you are. Gen Z, you hate fakeness. That is what I know about you. I used to be in youth ministry and I was a youth pastor, and I had some of my students come up to me and they would always want to talk to me about, some people at school that were giving them a hard time or whatever. And I remember one of the times one of these girls came up to me and she's like, man, this so-and-so is such a snake. She is such a two-faced. She totally does one thing and then the next minute she totally does another thing. And she says one thing and then she says another thing. And she's just such a snake. And I remember thinking to myself, man, fakeness in this generation is not tolerated. Not that anybody really likes somebody who's being fake, but really, truly, it's not tolerated. And so I know that as I'm talking about that, I know that in your mind, you probably know someone like that. Their image is probably coming up into your mind, and you actually know exactly, maybe you can even think of an instance where you had a reaction or an interaction with them, and you are just like, yeah, man, I totally get that. This girl that I know, maybe it's a guy, whatever, totally a snake. Well, for a second, we're going to do an exercise that we are going to do just probably almost every week when you're listening to me, and that is called looking at ourselves. So I want you to take a second, erase her image from your mind, and I want you to look at you, because this is where we're going to start to make progress, is when we can look inside ourselves, really truly be honest with ourselves. I had a spiritual mentor at one point in time say to me, Bethany, at the end of the day, you are only responsible for you. I am only responsible for me at the end of the day. And so that's why we're going to take a lot of time to look at me, to look at you, for you to look at you. Because at the end of the day, you're only responsible for you. You're not responsible for he said or she said or what they did or what they did. You are responsible for what you did and what you said. And so at the end of the day, that's what's important for us is what are we going to do in those situations? Our society really likes to point fingers and place blame and say it's their fault. It's all them, and our society does that all the time. We are not a society that likes to be humble and really look at ourselves. And so basically what I'm asking you to do is 100% counterculture to what is taught to you. What is taught to you is to place blame and to point fingers, but we're actually going to look at ourselves and we're going to look inside ourselves because we really can't demand any change around us until we are willing to change first, until we are willing to be honest with ourselves, until we are willing to lead the way in this. So a question that I want you to ask yourself real quick right now, where am I being fake in my life? Is there an area, is there a person that I'm regularly fake to? And I want you to be honest with yourself. I want you to take a look, a deep, deep look. Think about those situations. Don't just skip over this. I don't want you to be fake about it. Haha, see what I did there? Caught. But I want you to actually take a moment to be real. Is there someone that could actually be thinking about me when listening to this podcast? Have I been a snake, a two-face, a fake to someone else? Because this is important when we're talking about friendship, and we're going to get to that in a second. So really, no matter how you answer those questions, whether it's yes, no, I don't know, I think that in all of our lives, we all have room for improvement in this area. And so I think what that is saying is that's actually asking us to be humble. And humility is not a value of our culture, but it is a value of those who live in Christ's kingdom. Because humility says, I'm going to look at me and where I need to change and not point the finger. It says, I don't have this all together. I have room to learn. I have room to change. I have room to grow. And I have room to go low in this situation and maybe even need to ask for forgiveness from someone. Ooh, that's a hard topic. We'll get to that in a later episode. But for now, even some of us might have really low opinions of ourselves. Maybe you're not the prideful person that thinks they're all that walking around, but maybe you're like, man, I really suck. Man, I really am the worst. Man, I really did get this all wrong and I'm never going to get it right. Actually, that is just as much prideful as the opposite of what we think of as pride. Because either way, whether we're thinking too lowly or too highly of ourselves, we're actually thinking too much of ourselves. And humility says, it's not about me, it's about you. And so that is a huge, huge deal. Being real, being transparent, not being a fake, and being humble, those things in relationship are actually what are going to make our friendships grow. To have a real friend, you really got to just be a real friend. It requires us to look inside of ourselves and examine our motives. It requires us to not be lazy because, like I said, our culture is not this way. It has embedded us with this lazy habit of being selfish, self-oriented about ourselves. And actually, it takes work. Friendship takes work, but let me tell you, it is worth it. So I'll say it again. To have a friend, all you got to do is be a friend. Be a friend. This requires us to lay down ourselves and not try and be fake or say what I need to say to get to the top of the popularity circle or puff myself up in some way, make myself look good to this person or that person. It actually requires us to be real. And when we're real, things get a lot easier. I'm telling you what, when we are really truly ourselves, not trying to be something fake, we don't have to juggle all these lies and juggle all this fakeness. We just are who we are. And that frees us up to be more attentive to others. Did you know that the more real you are, people can sense that? People know when you're being real or when you're not. And it actually opens them up to be able to be real back when they can sense that you're being real. What a thought. Actually, along those same lines, did you know that when you're asking questions to other people, people can tell if you're actually listening to them answer? People can tell if you're genuinely interested or not. Have you ever, okay, here's an example. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and you asked them a question and then they started to answer, and then maybe their answer went on a little bit longer than what you were expecting? And you start to kind of stare at the back of your eyelids, and maybe you see your eyes wander away from them, and you see somebody in the hallway walk by, and oh, he's really cute. And oh, what am I going to have for lunch today? Am I going to go get Chick-fil-A, or am I going to go to the Dutch Bros drive-thru? And you start thinking of other things. You start zoning out and you start to wander. And you know that people can tell when you really don't care about what they're saying. Maybe you've had that happen to you. Maybe someone else did that same thing to you, where you were trying to talk and answer a question maybe, and then they just stopped paying attention. It was like they just didn't even care to hear you. Do you know that people can tell when you're being genuine? And that is a huge, huge, huge thing in friendship. We can't, in our friendships, ask questions just to get to the part where we get to talk about us. This is coming back to that whole like pride thing and that whole like being fake thing, is that sometimes in friendships, that's what we do. We just like ask questions so that they can answer, so that we can really say our answer. And really, that's not being a friend. That's just being self-centered. And that's just being kind of selfish and wanting to talk about me all the time. What would happen if we actually were genuinely interested in what the other person was saying? What if we actually listened to them? That would help us be better conversationalists, and that would ultimately help us be better friends with that person. They would sense that we're being vulnerable and genuine with them, and they would then open up more. That's how friendship works. All we really have to do is do small things too. Like, this is kind of like no duh stuff, but like making eye contact when we talk to someone, like actually focusing in on their eyeballs. Showing them that we are listening by our body language, not standing like this and like zoning out. Or, when we're actually like leaning in and like listening and paying attention and saying things like yeah as they're talking and showing them that we're listening, those kind of things actually contribute to them feeling valued as a human. There's actually a Bible verse that kind of refers to this. It's not entirely about this. It's more about generosity, but I think that it really does go with this topic, and it's out of Proverbs, and it says, "The world of the generous gets larger and larger, but the world of the stingy gets smaller and smaller." And kind of how I see that relating to this whole topic is that actually when we're generous with our time and with our attention, our world, our circle is going to get bigger and bigger. The amount of friends that we have is going to get bigger and bigger. Why? Because people are going to feel valued by us giving our time and really our attention, just our attention, to someone else. It could be for 30 seconds, but that could mean the world to that other person. The world of the stingy gets smaller and smaller, really is referring to us being self-centered again and self-oriented in everything we do. And the more that we're like that, the less friends we're actually going to have, because friends aren't going to want to be friends with us because we're self-absorbed. Does that make sense? My mom, growing up, she would always say, be others-oriented. And I think this is one of the best lessons that she actually taught us. And what that means is be others focused, be outward focused. Don't be so inward and only thinking about myself, but actually think about, how could I be a blessing to people that are walking by me today? How can I be a blessing to other people in my world, to that person that's sitting alone in the school cafeteria, to maybe that mom that has a crying baby in the car and behind me in the coffee drive-thru. I know it's all about coffee for me today. I didn't have enough coffee. But, how can I be a blessing to others? And the more I'm generous with that in my life, the bigger my world is going to get. The more friends I'm going to have. Maybe you say today, I don't have a lot of friends. Well, maybe this is a way for you to practically make more friends. The world of the generous gets larger and larger. I know that a lot of this stuff is Jesus-centered, it's Bible-centered, and I just wanted to take a minute to remind you, if you're here and you're listening and you are not yet a Jesus follower, you're welcome here. We're so glad that you joined us. We're so glad that you're listening. I hope this is good stuff, but I want you to know that all of this stuff comes from Jesus. It comes from the Word of God. It's Jesus' teaching. And we want you to know that you belong here before you even believe. But we do hope that you can come on that journey with us eventually. So I pray for you today that you would remember how important you are, how special and how loved you are today. I pray that together we as women can go out as a force, being real, being honest about who we are, and being others-oriented in this world. I pray that your friendships this week would be strengthened and that you would see an amazing change in some of them. Man, it is so good to get to be with you guys every week, and I am so excited to have many more weeks in the future together. Next week, we're going to do part 2. We're going to be talking about levels of relationship and why that's important to know about, how that gives us wisdom in relationships. It's going to certainly be a ton of fun, so don't forget to join in next Monday with us together on the Make Up Your Mind channel. It was so good to see you. Catch you later.